I am Erin Patten, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings. I am Erin Patten, also known as Master L, and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial podcast. I am so happy that you all are joining me. I know this is not our usual live moment, but I wanted to make sure that I recorded a podcast this week to stay committed to myself and also committed to you and the collective. And so if you haven't already, I just invite you to follow me at I am Erin Patten across social media platforms. And of course, if you feel called, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video with a friend, share this, comment, do all the things to engage and really lift this up so that more people can hear these messages, because I feel that they're so valuable for me and my life and my journey and my success and my happiness and my joy. And I hear that from so many of you, and so many more of us need to feel that frequency, okay? And that's just the perfect, I believe, kind of just like segue into what I want to talk about today, which really is a reflection, if you will, of my experience in Tampa, Florida last week with my mentors, Max and Jasmine. And I talk about them a lot as a reference point, but I don't really share what the depth of the engagement of the work is like with them. And it was a retreat, essentially, that I went on last week. I went on a 5-day retreat. I was there from Sunday to Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days. And it was, as always, just so life affirming, so awakening and fulfilling. And I say that was a good segue because I say I feel so much joy, I feel so much happiness, I feel so much fulfillment in my life because of the level of healing work that I engage with Max and Jasmine, and not just on our retreats, but on like our sessions, our clearings, all those things. And I wanted to talk more deeply about it because I know I get queries and questions from people all the time about recommendations for retreats, recommendations for how to get away, how to break. Should I do silent meditation? Have you done this here? Have you done that? And I want to just talk about what I do and what I recently did. And so I went to Tampa, and I actually stay with Max and Jasmine at their home. My son Harlow came with me. That was fantastic because he gets to be with me for part of the time that I'm there. And actually, during most of the day, he has his own nanny out in Florida. Shout out to Amelia, who's awesome. And he plays with other kids, and he has his own, in many ways, kind of healing journey. He gets to go into the pool and the sea and the beach, and he does his thing, plays with animals, tries new foods. So it's really an opportunity for us to attune to a higher frequency. And that's by being essentially like in the presence of our shamans, Max and Jasmine. And every day we are engaging in these attunement type exercises, if you will. And I actually, for the first time, journal about it. Well, I'm always journaling, but I actually, for the first time, posted my journals on my stories last week, and really received some great engagement around it. People were really interested. So that was one reason why I was like, okay, let me actually talk about this. Because, writing, a little note in a story is one thing, but really dedicating some time for vocal reflection is a whole other thing. And it's also part of my own personal integration, because what we started to unlock this time in our retreat specifically was around intimacy. That's how the retreat started. We started talking about intimacy. Then we got into in the embodiment of my feminine avatar and my feminine being and feminine energy. And then really, I would say, ended with this attunement into a soul, beginning of a soul retrieval, if you will. A soul retrieval. I mean, I had never even heard that before I started working with these people. And I'm just like, wow. I'm really like, wow. So let's just start with the intimacy, because I remember when I started my consciousness journey, the intimacy was broken down into into you I see, into me I see. So intimacy, into me I see. And this was unique in that I, sat with Max and Jasmine. I actually was like lying down. I didn't even have to sit when I do my, and then there was some like healing attunement. They really sit, it's like almost like meditation. We're all kind of meditating and really tapping into each other's soul energy and really allowing my soul to be seen. And, for those of you who are very new to the metaphysical path, or just those that need a refresher, we have three bodies. We have our physical body, we have our emotional body, and we have our light body, our soul body. And, and so our soul is its own entity, and it has its own characteristics. It also has its own, uh, balance. It can be masculine, it can be feminine. Because when God creates a soul, he split God is not a he or she, but it's a source. God splits the soul in two. So there's a feminine aspect and a masculine aspect. And then that soul kind of goes on that those two pieces of the same soul kind of go on their own journey, and experiencing life in various different ways. And sometimes the soul comes back together and meets. That's what a soulmate is. And eventually, both halves make it back to God. And so for me, really starting to see into my soul, into me, is the beginning of that intimacy with myself. And that is a really beautiful process. And it was a really beautiful experience because I really got to talk about, with them after the meditation, this idea of intimacy, this idea of being seen, and vice versa, me seeing other people, and how do we all feel safe in that being seen. And for me, my soul hadn't not revealed itself until last week. And which is fine. Like I had caught a glimpse of myself in a previous ceremony, and of my soul and my essence, and it was a very interesting, curious experience. And so this one became more of a revealing, if you will, of my soul. And I got to start to learn more about myself. And that's the purpose of this metaphysical journey is, and how I talk about with the yogi, like, who am I? 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 Just continuing to learn more about myself, what I like, what I don't like, what I desire, what I deeply desire, what I want to see manifest, what I want to see happen for myself. And all of these things are starting to come more online, and unlocking these other aspects of higher aspects of myself, now that I've done so much work on clearing the generational trauma. And I pause there and I smile there because I feel the weight lifted. And I love that for myself. And I also love that for you all who are also on that healing journey of releasing that generational trauma, of that generational baggage that we carry in this DNA, because it has served us, obviously, the lessons, the learnings, the challenges. That's one thing, too, that I really started to awaken to last week in that intimacy work, is how necessary all of my experience have been in this life in order to unlock my soul's potential. Like my soul, we'll get to it, but whew, it's very powerful. And so, in order to even even and I'm just interpreting it in the way that I interpret it. I don't know what's right or wrong in this world of soul definitions. But from my own experience, my soul needed to trust me. My soul needed to be able to trust that I would be able to receive the energy in full and could be able to manage it and harness it and really shape it in the way that it needed to be shaped to be utilized to its highest potential. And I needed to experience that as I teach it, as I work with it, as I work with companies and organizations, other individuals. I really needed to master that for myself. And I needed to pass some tests for myself, which is very interesting because generally, like in relationships, particularly in business relationships, even in romantic relationships, like there are always tests and there's always a probationary period. Like you have to prove yourself. Well, it's the same with your soul. And your and for lack of better words, I'm gonna call my avatar my ego structure. And for my ego structure, I needed to get through some really, I would say, advanced experiences, situations to really prove to my soul that I could handle all of that it had to give to me. And I appreciate my soul for being patient with me. And I want to cry right now. And I appreciate my soul for and I'm talking like it's two different aspects of myself because that's just how I'm experiencing it in this moment. Like the integration is still happening. And I really appreciate my soul for knowing and choosing all the different aspects of my life, knowing that I would get to this point of really being able to fully receive. And so once we got through that intimacy piece, fully receive is a nice segue into the next aspect was the embodiment of the feminine. And receptivity, being able to receive, is a very feminine aspect. And obviously, I'm in a very feminine body. Like, I am a woman, okay? And I've been a woman, like, since my teenage years. I remember when I was in high school, people would be like, "Oh, Erin Patten, she's a woman." I mean, I'm curvy, like, I'm really feminine, I love makeup and fashions and dancing, and I'm really, like, in many ways, a girl's girl and still a guy's girl at the same time, like, I'm kind of both, but just which makes it's a lot I mean, it's a lot, but, I really am really enjoying mastering, learning more about this feminine journey and this feminine embodiment, if you will. And the embodiment of the feminine is so much more than the physical aspect. And it's so much more than equal pay. And it's so much more than roles in the household. And I'm coming to truly understand that because of what I've had to experience in my life and where I want to go in this life. And where I want to go in this life is literally building communities, building civilizations, really changing the landscape of the world of business as we know it today. And it could not have been done in a man body, only because of our conditioning around what man is in this world. And that's not what we need. We definitely need an approach that's more compassionate, that's softer, dare I say, that's more focused on the intricacies of and the details and the nuances of emotions and energies and subtleties and truly the unseen. And those are feminine aspects. The masculine is very seen, very present. The sun is very strong and powerful and illuminates everything, but it can also dry things out and scorch things and really be harsh. You know why they call the global warming and everyone's so fearful about the sun? Well, it's really, to me, it just taking that allegory, that metaphor, it's really it's the warming of it is too much of the masculine. There needs to be some cooling effect. And that cooling comes with the feminine energy. You think about the moon energy, you think about the night energy. It's very cooling and quiet and quaint. I mean, we've been conditioned to be howling at the moon and afraid of nighttime and fearful of the darkness. Yet it's the darkness where so much more can be created and emerge. I mean, we grow in darkness for 9 months in our mother's womb. They call it the triple darkness. And so really coming to embody that darkness aspect, the unseen aspect, mastering that which is unseen, so that the seen can be more enjoyable, more pleasurable, more fun. That to me is God's greatest gift to me. And being able to learn more, integrate more around this feminine work and feminine leadership. As we know, in the New Earth leadership path, it's led by the feminine. So I needed to be in a woman body. The spiritual leadership is feminine leadership. And so much of what we've seen has been very masculine. Look at the Sadhgurus and the Deepak Chopras and all the yogis and all the pastors and all the imams and all the uh, Jewish leadership. I don't know what's the proper term, but you think about spirituality across the world, across all the different sectors, all led by men. And that time is coming to an end. Not to say that men won't be leading in that way, but it's certainly a rise of the woman in that leadership role as a woman, not as a man disguised in a woman body. And that's a lot of what we see today. I mean, that's what we see in leadership in politics, it's what we see in leadership in business, that the woman has had to play like a man to be successful. I mean, and I say this all the time, CEOs with short hair, suited up. Like, now, I love a good suit, I love a good short hairstyle, but we don't have to change everything about our behavior, our approach, our fundamental way of being as women, as a woman, to be accepted as a leader. And that's what I am embodying. And that's what I am demonstrating. And that's what I came here to teach in my own being by just doing it, by just doing it. And I want to just reiterate my gratitude in that, because that is actually bringing me to my next point where the attunement is happening. The attunement and the soul retrieval, if you getting to the even the for the last piece. And being able to attune to these higher frequencies, these higher energies, these higher consciousness states in enlightenment, because if people are like, oh, Erin, I feel like you're already enlightened. And I do call myself a chief enlightened officer. Yet I learned through my dragons, I have these dragon oracle cards that I adore, that there are levels to enlightenment. And I think I've mentioned this before, yet I want to talk about it again because I'm here. My mission is to teach, inspire, to empower 700 enlightened business leaders around the globe by 2033. And I'm well on my way. And enlightenment has levels too. So, yes, there is this level of enlightenment, but once you become enlightened, if you will, You still have to do the work. You're still growing, you're still evolving. It doesn't just stop. And that's the attunement piece because that's the piece where there have been a lot of abuses. I've experienced it. I've experienced spiritual leadership that was abusive, that encouraged followers to revolve around the leadership because the leader was the son, and all of his followers revolved around him. I watched the Netflix documentary recently, Dancing with the Devil, about the Shania Church and how God's word was weaponized against people to serve the man of God, the pastor of the church. These are abuses of enlightenment. This is why so many people even have issues with paying for energy healing, with the transactional aspect of working even with me. And I understand it. And it actually pains me. It actually, I get like a little lump in my throat talking about it because it really, really brings me sadness that people weaponize God and take advantage of people and their souls and their soul journeys for their own power hungry intentions. And those accusations have been placed on me, and I'm sure they will continue to because in some people's minds that's how they view this work. That's how they view what I do, a power hungry attempt or like a narcissist view. These kinds of words get thrown around a lot because it absolutely exists in the spiritual world. But this is why the attunement to higher frequencies is key. Because as you attune to higher frequencies and you attune to these frequencies of love and kindness, you can feel them and you can know the difference. You can know the difference because you would feel the difference. You'd be able to watch someone talking about God, the words they use, how they look in your eyes or don't look in your eyes, how they embrace you or how they don't embrace you, and tell who's out for power for themselves and who's out for power to change the world, who's out for power to deliver God's message, who's out for the power to really bring people together towards a greater good. That's the attunement piece. And that's how you are able to retrieve your soul. And I'm going like this, but it's really coming from here. The soul retrieval is about the embodiment of the attunement to the higher frequencies. And the more we, I would say, move away from that, then the less likely we are to retrieve that, the full embodiment and potential of that soul. Because our soul too is many ways, in my view, like the ego structure, in that it wants to feel safe, it wants to feel secure, and it doesn't want to be abused. And so as we attune to these higher frequencies and we start to experience more often that safety and experience that security, then that trust link is built for the soul to be fully embodied, fully experienced. And this is what I went through last week in my retreat. And I'm talking through it very conceptually. And I'll start to get into a little bit more details in the last few minutes around how that looked. But like I said before, we started with the intimacy and a meditation. We did the feminine embodiment starting through a mimosa ceremony, a plant medicine ceremony, where we have the plant. I'm able to take the plant and really go on a soul journey, if you will. And I'm able to access my light languages and use my mudras and really start to explore my internal world, my unseen world, my that feminine aspect of myself, in order to attune to higher frequencies and really access my soul wisdom, my soul knowledge, and my soul energy. And as we're doing these ceremonies and these meditations, I'm also having time, lots of time for rest, lots of time for reflection, eating healthy foods, going to the beach, going to the pool, swimming in the pool with Harlow, teaching him how to dive. That was really fun. He did really well. And all of this happened over the span of 5 days. And I feel like this was such um, an awakening. I call it an awakening experience, particularly because of the rest and restoration aspect that goes along with these awakening ceremonies. And so many of us that are on these healing paths, that are on this enlightened path with me, the meta business world, path, I want you to really understand what the journey looks like, what the journey feels like, because this will be you, if not already. If you haven't already done retreats, which I'm sure many of you have, but it's going to continue to evolve. The nature of these retreats, the purpose of these retreats, to really access your soul's wisdom, your soul's knowledge, and all of those beautiful aspects of self that really, get ignored in the mundane day to day world. Put it that way. And, this feels really good for me because, like I said, it was a really great integration for me. It was a really great sharing. And this is so perfect that it's not live because it's like I'm just talking to myself, like in a confessional room. Like I'm just really video logging this experience for you all, for your listening pleasure, for your watching pleasure, particularly as you continue to come along this journey with me, because I was just sharing with a colleague, like, I'm going to be doing this work for the rest of my life, like the rest of my life. And so, for those of you who are tuning in now, like, boy, are we in for a ride. We are in for a beautiful, long, smooth, relaxing, playful, joyful, pleasurable, yummy ride. It's not like a roller coaster. It's not like thrilling and suspenseful and scary, frightful. It's quite the opposite. And I am here for that energy. I came here to feel that energy. And so did you. This is the dawning of heaven on earth. This is the dawn of the era of heaven on earth. And these are what the energies feel like. So much more sumptuous, so much more loving, so much more comforting. It's just like the best snuggie, you know what I'm saying? Like the best snuggie moment ever, like all day, every day. And it just gets better and better. So I thank you all so much who tuned into this episode, because it really was just like a personal share, like a really, you know, a moment for me, a really nice moment to really be vulnerable, share with you all something that was really precious to me, and that is really setting the stage for my upcoming solo return in November. I'm going to be traveling to Hawaii in November to celebrate my 40th solo return on this planet, and in this body, in this planet, in this body. And this is really part of that activation, kind of the beginning part of that activation. So, what you're going to be seeing from me in the next few months is going to be continual integration and growth and development of all that I just spoke about today, the intimacy piece, the embodiment of the feminine, the attunement to higher frequencies, the soul retrieval. And so then when we get to 2025, because we have kind of like another quarter left in this year, we're really going to be seeing and experiencing some really amazing things from myself and from the meta business world. Like I already can see it. I'm already planning for it. And I'm just giving you all a little sneak peeky into it. So continue to stay locked in. Make sure you're following me at I am Erin Patten. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, set your notifications for the new episodes, and continue to follow me on Instagram as well. I'm really active on Instagram, especially my Instagram stories, where I'm sharing a lot about my day-to-day work, sharing a lot about things that are happening, in the collective that you probably should be tuning into. And just so you can learn more about me and my lifestyle, the meta lifestyle. It's really a movement, if you will, towards a higher consciousness way of being, where you're cool still, you're tapped in, you're with your friends, you're with your family, you're dancing, we're eating good food, we're doing all the same things we used to do, but just on a higher level, on a higher level and with higher intentions. And that's all we want. We don't want to change all of who we are. We just want the best version of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So stay tapped in. Also, if you want to get some resources, some more resources, or find more of my podcast episodes, you can go to my website, www.erinpatten.com. Actually, you should just go to my site, erinpatten.com. Everything is there. My podcast, my blog articles, everything's there. And particularly if you want to even work with me as a speaker, booking me for workshops, my website's the key, erinpatten.com. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to me. This has just been such a great episode. All right. Until next time, see you all later. Much love and light. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatten.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.